Hi, this is New Time on Silkway TV channel. We introduce you with the most visible news and important events that happen throughout this week in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. More details on politics, economy, social and cultural life with opinions from the most recognizable experts of Kazakhstan and world. I'm Ainur Mangali and this is what you'll see today. Turning policies into practices, the WHO Global Conference took place in Astana. The question we put forward, are we ready for the next pandemic? Integration is a key. What sectors of economy are prioritized in cooperation of Kazakhstan with the European Union, and why is it so? The day the Republic awoke, Kazakhstan for the second time in a long break celebrates its Republic Day. Why this holiday matters. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev proposed to create a global coalition for primary health care with the support of the World Health Organization. This initiative was sounded this week at the conference dedicated to the development of primary health care in Astana. The conference also served as a means to evaluate the progress made in fulfilling the commitments outlined in the Astana Declaration and the 45th years old Almaty Declaration. Both documents, experts noted, have significantly contributed to improving the international health system. For more details, let's turn to a report by Baljan Samigulina.
Hurmetli President Tokayev Khuda, Hurmetli Minister Ginyat Khudayev.
The World Health Organization conference in Astana was started informally by Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus in welcoming remarks to the President Tokayev and Minister of Health Ajar Ginyat in Kazakh, and there is a reason behind it.
My daughter-in-law is Kazakh, so two of my grandkids are also part of Kazakh. So you could say Kazakhstan is part of me, and I'm part of Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan has also occurred to be the birthplace of primary health care. A historical document, Almaty Declaration, signed in 1978, became an important milestone in adopting principles of the primary health care globally. This is the most important direction that WHO is currently developing. The Almaty Declaration emphasizes the importance of creating conditions for a healthy lifestyle for all citizens. In an effort to make progress on this issue, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev came up with a new initiative in the presence of experts from 70 countries by paying attention to the problems in the industry at the UN level.
I propose, with the support of the WHO, to create a coalition of countries on primary health care. The main task of this coalition should be to further promote the principles of prevention and health care, as well as to elaborate joint recommendations for the development of primary health care.
The Almaty Declaration has introduced an instrumental toolkit in lowering maternal and infant mortality, as well as boosted life expectancy. Experts project that a well-functioning primary healthcare system could save 60 million lives and extend life expectancy by over 3 years by 2030. Many nations have already established national healthcare systems centered around primary healthcare. This was reconfirmed 5 years ago in Astana Declaration.
And just last month, the United Nations General Assembly approved the political declaration on universal health coverage. In its first operative paragraph, the declaration affirms that primary health care is the cornerstone of universal health coverage. Primary health care is one of the most important concepts in public health. It's the most inclusive, effective, and efficient path to universal health coverage.
The significance of primary health care nowadays cannot be overstated, particularly in its role in early epidemic detection. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev emphasized the adaptability and resilience demonstrated by global public health organizations on the example of COVID-19. Kazakhstan in this regard was recognized as a leader in the primary healthcare sector, offering valuable expertise and contributions, as acknowledged by WHO representatives.
Almaty, there's a WHO Euro region center for primary health care, and that's like a hub. That's like a hub for learning. It's a demonstration site in the sense that it demonstrates how PHC can be implemented in action. And I know some countries from the delegations from the Central Asia came to the demonstration site and visited the demonstration site for learning and for exchange. And I think Kazakhstan can and our center can further expand that experience to other countries similar in the region to do the same.
Almaty Declaration has raised political visibility on primary health care and triggered major movements in its development by engaging more resources and prestige for doctors to work in this area. It emphasized the need for political leadership and commitment to ensure essential services to all. A powerful message from Kazakhstan to the world. Valjan Samigulna, Rambek Bigujaev, Silkwy TV channel, Astana.
President Tokayev also held bilateral discussions with the WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus and the head of the organization's regional office for Europe, Hans Kluge, on the sidelines of the global conference. Their primary focus was on bolstering international cooperation. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev pledged full support for WHO initiatives, especially in achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Are we as international community ready for the new pandemic? We addressed that question to the regional director of the World Health Organization for Europe, Hans Kluge. In an exclusive interview with the New Time, Mr. Kluge shared his strategy on how to overcome new drastic challenges to the global healthcare systems. Please watch the fragment of the interview right now. Full version of the interview is available on our YouTube channel. We are now located in Astana, which these days hosts an international conference celebrating two declarations. First made 45 years ago in Almaty, and the second one 5 years ago in Astana. So the general theme of these declarations was about the importance and equal access to primary health care system. So what do you think are important milestones, if we talk globally, countries have made so far in this regard, and what is the role of Kazakhstan in this process?
Actually, this week, Astana is the center of global health, really, and the countries were sharing their innovations in primary healthcare. I feel that 5 years ago, I was here in Astana, with the Astana Declaration. We succeeded to create a global primary healthcare movement rooted in strong ethical principles, but also implementing very practical solutions to each context. And Kazakhstan is the birthplace of primary healthcare. We were all very impressed that His Excellency President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev honored us with his personal presence and inspiring speech, because this is what we need in all countries, that primary healthcare is at the top of the political agenda. Because we saw that during the pandemic, the countries with a strong primary healthcare did much better than the other countries.
Yes, you mentioned pandemic, and I think when we talk about primary health care, we understand that this is a cornerstone of public health care systems, and we have experienced pandemic, which had dreadful consequences for all, I think, public health cares all over the world, and I think that was one of the biggest challenges countries faced in decades. Yes. So far. So the main question today, are we secured now, and what are important lessons we should learn from this recent pandemic?
I'm optimistic in the sense we learned a lot, but we are still not there. What has improved is that for political leadership globally, it's clear, without health, there is nothing. No economy, no social cohesion, so there is a need to invest in health and health systems. In primary healthcare, because there is where public health comes together. For example, case finding, when we needed people to go out and look for patients who are infected, we need a strong public health workforce, which is best located in the communities. But we also needed enough beds in the hospitals. We needed enough masks, for example, and tests. So this is what countries are preparing for better, But then the big issue we need is international solidarity. Kazakhstan has demonstrated it, has actually helped a lot of countries, but this was not the case everywhere. Some countries were hoarding the vaccines for themselves. That's why it is so important that countries agree by the World Health Assembly in May next year on what we call the pandemic agreement. Yesterday, President Tokayev and WHO Director General Dr. Tedros, in my presence, also the presence of Dr. Azarginiat, discussed the importance of this pandemic accord, because countries need to agree to share, particularly if there is not enough. Because we know no one will be safe until everyone is safe.
Can we say that so far now we as mankind are ready for the next possible pandemic or very challenges that it brings to the public healthcare systems
We
globally?
still don't have the pandemic agreement. We are making a lot of progress because only then the countries will agree. We are much better, but it depends. For example, I always say, imagine that COVID-19 was spreading as fast as measles and with a mortality like Ebola. Then it could be much worse. So that is 3 elements that we need to keep in mind. Number 1 is surveillance through the wastewater. So we can quickly pick up if there is a dangerous virus somewhere, surveillance. Number 2 is the quality of indoor air. This is very important. We can really avoid a lot of respiratory diseases if the air indoor and outdoor is pure. That's why the commitment of Kazakhstan to environmental change and climate change is very important. And number 3, going into the winter, all the vulnerable people, the elderly people, the sick people should get their vaccine, the booster for COVID, and in the other arm, the influenza vaccine.
Thank you, Mr. Kluge, for your time and for your answers. Let's moving on. The European Union is always open and welcomes Kazakhstan to participate in the Global Gateway initiative. The statement made by the lead spokesperson of the European Commission, Peter Stano. The Global Gateway is a European strategy aimed at accelerating the pace of energy, digital and environmental transformation in developing countries. In this regard, the EU plans to invest 300 billion euros by 2027. During a September meeting in Germany with Chancellor Olaf Scholz, the president of Kazakhstan announced our willingness to connect the Trans-Caspian transportation route with the Global Gateway initiative. What are the other mutual interests of Kazakhstan in the European Union? Dorian Isagulov is ready to tell.
A partnership with no limits, a cooperation with no taboos. That's how Kazakhstan-EU relations are characterized at the headquarters of the European Commission in Brussels. The 30th anniversary of cooperation between Europe and our country has yielded fruitful results, so that's why Kazakhstan's willingness to participate in the Global Gateway initiative is welcome, especially considering the EU's vital interest in cooperation with Astana.
Kazakhstan is already very important when it comes to energy security and energy diversification for the European Union. Kazakhstan, due to its geographical location, due to its size and the overall potential, plays a very important role both in the region but also for us, for the European Union. So as long as Kazakhstan is interested in participating in the Global Gateway project or through other activities, this project is open for everyone. It's a very transparent offer to our partners based on predictable rules and principles. And again, it's something that is focused on mutual benefit.
The role of Kazakhstan in the energy security of Europe is truly difficult to overestimate. The country is one of the main suppliers of oil to the European market. At the same time, it is important to note the role of partners in the development of our state. Being the first and largest investor in Kazakhstan, the EU has invested about $76 billion to the Kazakh economy over the last 30 years. According to the ambassador of the European Union to Kazakhstan, Kestutis Yankauskas, the excellent relations will only deepen. That's including the field of energy security.
The European Union is receiving a lot of Kazakh oil, around 80% of, or over 80% of EU's consumption is the oil coming from Kazakhstan, which is a good source of income for your country. I think it can be even expanded. We made sure last year that CPC pipeline, which is the main source of delivery, was exempted from the sanctions, so oil continues to flow.
According to the ambassador, the EU also wants to support Kazakhstan with specific projects in the transition to a green economy. In the near future, this area will become vitally important for oil and coal-dependent countries, including Kazakhstan, whose source of economic growth heavily relies on the exploitation of raw materials.
First of all, I would like to say renewables. Kazakhstan is blessed with sun and wind. We have signed a year ago a huge investment project coming from the German Swedish company Svevind in Mangistau region. Now that project is going forward for production of green energy and green hydrogen. Another area which I think is very important, we'll see more work. We already have several projects in energy efficiency.
Speaking of challenges in our relations, geopolitical tensions certainly introduce their own difficulties into work processes. European investors are always looking for reliable partners. Therefore, it is extremely important for Kazakhstan to maintain a favorable investment environment.
Investment climate, because right now countries in Europe, their companies are looking for investment opportunities and they make their own risk assessments. In these risk assessments, they're also looking whether Kazakhstan is not circumventing sanctions, and in that respect, we welcome the work that is being done currently by the government, but that work needs to continue.
While years go by and the world is heating up, so far this has not stopped the European Union and Kazakhstan from finding new areas for mutually beneficial relations. Trade turnover, for example, gained $32 billion last year. 41% of foreign direct investments in Kazakhstan are coming from the European Union. That is a really excellent base, says the main representative of Europe in Kazakhstan. Dauriana Sagulov, Adel Harlamova, New Time.
European Commission, meanwhile, expressed optimism about the ongoing cooperation between the European Union and Kazakhstan, particularly in logistics. And Trans-Caspian International Transport Route has the potential to become a multimodal connection between Europe and Asia. In an interview to my colleague Balzhan Samigulina, or class advisor of the European Commission Henrik Holloley, said that the EU and Kazakhstan make significant progress in fortifying cooperation so far. All these developments are seen as mutually beneficial endeavors for both sides.
Welcome to Astana and thank you for dedicating time to us. Let me start from today's agenda. According to the statement of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Kazakhstan, it was mentioned that your purpose of visit to Astana is to discuss the questions of the transport and logistics, and also to discuss of the EBRD study on the sustainable transport routes between Europe and Central Asia. In this regard, which achievements have you so far achieved by the result of your visit to Astana, please?
The relationship between EU and Kazakhstan and Central Asia more generally has been moving forward in a quite speedy pace over the last months, and I think this is a very positive development, and it's something that will act as a win-win to both sides. What we are this time discussing here is very much related to the Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor, the corridor which is supposed to bring a new competitive route from Asia to Europe, and at the same time also helping to develop and to accelerate the economic transition in the region more generally. Kazakhstan is very much in the center of all that, as the largest country in the region, and also the country which has huge potential. We are very happy that we have this possibility to engage. I'm continuously looking forward to further cooperation, and I hope that we can also turn the Trans-Caspian Transport Corridor into a real multimodal, competitive, permanent corridor that connects Asia with Europe.
Regarding the integration of the Trans-Caspian International Transport Route and the Trans-European Transport Network, President of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, in his speech always mentions that Kazakhstan is ready to work with the European Union for the integration of the routes. Which agreement in the future we can expect in this regard?
I think that the most important thing is to continue to work on the different projects across the corridor that are today bottlenecks, missing links, or there are sort of those parts of the corridor that need significant improvement. We also need to make sure that there is sufficient capacity to deal with the increased levels of cargo. That means, of course, the availability of equipment and also the sustain and the possibility to handle the additional volumes in the ports. So in Kazakhstan, that means in particular the ports of Aktau and Kurik, where I think quite a lot of investments are needed.
Let me continue this topic. According to EBRD report preliminary assumptions, it was mentioned that we will need fund in the amount of 18.5 billion euro in order to better integrate the middle corridor. In this regard, can we expect maybe new investments to the transport and logistics sector of Kazakhstan, maybe by the result of this visit already?
Indeed, the indicative investment needs have been identified as 18.5 billion, but can be much more than that, as we well know. And what is important is to be able to prepare good bankable projects. So I would say that anything that is enhancing our connectivity, anything that is allowing to make further investments and bring also the investors from different parts of the world, Europe, but also other like-minded countries who operate based on the same principles and same standards and regulations, I think that will be also very positive for Kazakhstan, who is also aligning itself much more with high-quality projects and also high-quality infrastructure.
The first formal summit of the EU and Central Asia will be held in the second quarter of 2024 in Uzbekistan. That was the result of the first ever meeting of ministers of foreign affairs of Central Asian countries with all of their European counterparts in Luxembourg. More details on this meeting, as well as other major topics related to Central Asia, is in review of my colleague, Director of Eurasia Monitoring Analytical Research Center, Alibek Tajibbayev. Alibek, good evening. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Ainur. I'm ready to share my top 3 news topics on Central Asia just in a moment. A delegation of Kazakhstan led by Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Murat Nurtlev, took part in the 19th Central Asia European Union ministerial meeting in Luxembourg. Kazakh Foreign Minister Nurtlev emphasized the importance and the timeliness of holding the foreign ministers' meeting of the 2 regions in the current geopolitical situation, and he noted the uniqueness of the platform for the practical promotion of mutuality beneficial cooperation. The foreign minister presented a number of initiatives in areas of agriculture, investment and the digital interaction, as well as Kazakhstan's vision on unlocking the full potential of the Trans-Caspian corridor, calling on European exporters to actively use the transport route from Europe to Asia. The first formal EU Central Asia Summit will be held in the second quarter of 2024. On October 26, the capital of Kyrgyzstan hosted a meeting of the heads of Governmental Council of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the heads of States Council of the Commonwealth of Independent States, and the Eurasian Intergovernmental Council. The Prime Minister of Kazakhstan, Alihan Smailov, attended the meeting. The meetings discussed the relevant issues of interaction and strengthening cooperation among the member states. A number of documents in the trade, economic and the cultural humanitarian spheres were signed.
At the end of last year, Kazakhstan's trade turnover with the SCO countries increased by about 20% and reached $61 billion. E-commerce is becoming one of the promising areas. According to various estimates, the total income from electronic sales in the SCO countries could be about $1.5 trillion this year. We need to create platforms for the work of our development institutions and investment funds. In this regard, I would like to draw attention to the initiative of the President of Kazakhstan to create the SCO Investment Fund.
So, the 10th anniversary summit of the Organization of Turkic States will be held on November 3rd in Astana. The event will be attended by the leaders of OTS member states, Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkey and Uzbekistan. The heads of observer states, Hungary and Turkmenistan will also take part on the summit. Our President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev noted that Kazakhstan, as one of the founders of the organization, is interested in the development of multilateral cooperation with Turkic states and will provide maximum support to the work of the Secretariat. He stressed that today the role and the importance of the organization as a unique platform for strengthening cooperation and unity of Turkic people has increased significantly. The intention to expand trade, economic, cultural and humanitarian ties with the organization is expressed by many states of the world and international organizations. That's it from my part for today, Aynur. Giving floor back to you.
Thanks. That was Alibek Tajibay from Eurasia Monitoring Analytical Research Center with his review of the most important news topics on Central Asia. This week, Kazakhstan celebrated its main national holiday. For the second time after a long break, the country celebrated Republic Day. 32 years ago, on October 25th, a historically important document for Kazakhstan was signed, the Declaration of State Sovereignty. What does this holiday mean 3 decades later, and what does it tell us about modern Kazakhstan? Please watch our next report.
The 5th of October once was the most important date in the history of Kazakhstan. It ceased to be a red-letter day in 2009. In 2022, President Tokayev proposed returning to Republic Day the status of a national holiday. The head of state explained his decision by saying that it should become a symbol of the country's bold step towards statehood. This holiday is made to elevate the spirit, strengthen the unity and the solidarity of the people of Kazakhstan. It is the day of the revival of our centuries-old statehood, which dates back to the era of the Turkic Kaganates, the Golden Horde and the Kazakh Khanate. On this day, the idea of freedom for which the Alash activists fought came true. The history of Republic Day begins in 1990, when the Supreme Council of the Kazakh CCR adopted the Declaration of State Sovereignty. It established the basic principles on which a young independent state was subsequently built: unitarity, independence in international relations, indivisibility, as well as territorial integrity. The adoption of the declaration was not easy. The ethno-demographic structure of the country was complex. Long and heated discussion took place in the Supreme Council, the parliament of that time, and in society. Every article, every word of the document had to be defended and justified. The head of state emphasized that today it is necessary to convey to young people, in particular, the deep meaning of this day as a symbol of transformations aimed at building a strong state. In recent years, radical changes have been carried out in our country. We have conducted a large-scale and unique constitutional reform. All the reforms have significantly changed the political mentality of the people, who, I am sure, will no longer allow a return to the previous methods of government. The cause towards a just Kazakhstan and the need for change resonates not only within our country, but also beyond its borders. Russian blogger Ivan Chervinsky, who recently moved to Kazakhstan, notes rapid changes. The blogger gained popularity making videos about our republic and its famous figures. I learned about Kazakhstan in 2017. I must admit that Kazakhstan is now experiencing a fantastic breakthrough, a fantastic rise in a variety of areas. When I first started my blog, if we talk about sports, I used to have to spend a lot of time to find some achievements. Now, I no longer have time to follow the new champions. It is developing rapidly. Kazakhstan, with its victories, opens the country to our entire planet. So if I can make a small contribution to this, I will be very happy. Republic Day is a holiday of special political value. The cause towards a just Kazakhstan has become an expression of the need of several generations of Kazakhstanis for the supremacy of law and order. Each subsequent celebration of Republic Day should become evidence of an effective social contract between the state and the people, summing up the results of the reforms and initiatives carried out. Daurian Sagulov, New Time.
And that's it for today. This is how we saw this week in Kazakhstan. More news and special projects about our country you can watch on Silkway TV channel. Stay tuned and see you later.